The Battle of Minas Tirith, one of the last and most difficult battles fought in the Third Age. Hello, and welcome back to another video from Secrets of the Rings. Today we analyze the battle and its participants, and one particular figure who does not arrive late, nor too early, but precisely when he means to. Someone who may have single-handedly outmaneuvered and tipped the balance scale towards the victory of the free folk of Middle-earth. Gandalf the White. For some context, after the Battle of Helm's Deep and Isengard, Gandalf and his companions, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Merry, and Pippin, were on track to reassemble the original plan of finding Frodo and reuniting the Fellowship. Unfortunately, or not, the scenario suddenly changed when Pippin managed to put his hands over the Palantír and risked divulging the plans of the group directly to Sauron. Gandalf knew that Sauron considered Pippin as the likely ring-bearer and would stop at nothing to take back what was his. On the other side, Sauron saw himself forcing his hand to accelerate the siege of Minas Tirith and Osgiliath after the decision of Gandalf to take Pippin with him to Denethor's court at Minas Tirith, and to dispatch Aragorn and his companions to acquire more allies to the cause against the Dark Lord, as the war to come was ever more imminent now. These actions alone started a series of changes in the plans of the Dark Lord, as well as the plans of Gandalf, as noted by the wizard during the story. Through an encompassing vision, Gandalf was beginning to see the bigger picture, and knew from the start that relying upon Gondor's defenses alone would likely mean the fall of men, and consequently, the fall of the rest of Middle-earth to the Shadow and its evil servants. After arriving at the city, Gandalf knew he would need to make preparations, as Osgiliath was already at constant assault from the orcs, and Minas Tirith would be next. Although Denethor was rigid against the wizard's plea to organize a proper defense and call upon old alliances, the cunning and wise old wizard had another plan up his sleeve. It was then decided he would instruct the hobbit Pippin to set ablaze the Beacon of Gondor, a series of beacons which signaled to Gondor's allies the call for arms when the situation was dire. Aragorn, who was instructed by Gandalf to wait and knew the meaning of the beacons, was accompanying Theoden, King of Rohan, and was the first to see and call for Theoden to listen to the plea for help. Theoden listened this time, and so the arrangements for the war began, with call to arms through the entire kingdom of Rohan to come and assist on what would be one last ride for the men of Rohan. From this point, both sides had rolled their dice, and as a series of dominoes, falling upon one another in a chain reaction, all led to the battle itself. Gandalf's role in the war was crucial, from organizing the war's defenses to outruling the commands of Denethor to his men, after Denethor ordered them to disband and break formation. Thanks to the wizard's efforts, the people of Minas Tirith still had hope and a leader to follow, though the king had not yet returned. Speaking of inspiration, Gandalf's role was key, as he used his ring, one of the 3 elven rings of power, Narya, the Ring of Fire, from which he drew strength and hope. The ring was subtly used by Gandalf during his travels over his lifetime, but was particularly useful in moments of disorder and distress, when all hope was nearly lost and no help was in sight. Thanks to Gandalf's expertise, the soldiers knew what to target and focus against when the imposing towers full of orcs approaching the city's walls came, or when to retreat and seal the gates when certain areas were breached. One confrontation worth noting was the clash against the Witch King of Angmar, leader of the Nazgul, at the gates of the city. In rode the Lord of the Nazgul, under the archway that no enemy ever yet had passed, and all fled before his face, all save one. There, waiting silent and still in the space before the gate, sat Gandalf upon Shadowfax. Shadowfax, who alone among the free horses of the earth endured the terror, unmoving, steadfast as a graven image in Rath Dineg. "You cannot enter here," said Gandalf, and the huge shadow halted. "Go back to the abyss prepared for you. Go back, fall into the nothingness that awaits you and your master.
Go!
The Black Rider flung back his hood, and behold, he had a kingly crown, and yet upon no head visible was it set. Red fires shone between it, and the mantled shoulders vast and dark. From a mouth unseen there came a deadly laughter. "Old fool," he said. "Old fool, this is my hour. Do you not know death when you see it? Die now and curse in vain." And with that he lifted high his sword, and flames ran down the blade. Gandalf did not move, and in that very moment, away behind in some courtyard of the city, a cock crowed, and as if in answer, there came from far away another note. Horns, horns, horns. Gandalf single-handedly held off the Witch King until the allies of Gondor arrived. Rohan, with their horns of war, broke the silence of dawn and rode into battle, surprising the enemy and generating disorganization and chaos amongst their ranks, which gave Minas Tirith some time and relief after the waves of enemies who had entered the city causing mayhem. Many important deeds occurred during the siege of Minas Tirith, but it was due to the efforts of Gandalf that only the outer ring of the city was assaulted. Other deeds include saving Faramir from his father Denethor at the funeral pyre with the assistance of Pippin, who warned the wizard. After the aid of the Rohirrim countering the Mumakirs and Orcs, and the ghosts led by Aragorn attacking the Umbar Corsairs, the death of the Witch King managed to deliver the final blow against the enemy forces and secure victory over Pelennor fields, and eliminate the few enemies left inside the city's walls. This was but a small glimpse of one of the most important figures to participate in the siege of Minas Tirith, using all his might, but also cunning intelligence and power to inspire others, to lead the free folk of Middle-earth to an important victory on the last stretch of the war against the Dark Lord Sauron and his evil minions.